This is the Mind Body Detox Podcast, where we discuss all things integrative health and wellness, interviewing folks from all over the world, sharing insights and wisdom on how to live a healthier life in mind, body, and spirit. Welcome back, everyone, to the Mind Body Detox Podcast. I am your host, Integrative Intuitive Medium, Kara Lovehart, and today we are going to be talking about how to create a space that reflects your future self with Feng Shui. And today's guest we have on today is Danijela, and she is going to be talking about her experience as a Feng Shui practitioner. She has over 20 years experience as a Feng Shui and Space Healing master. And she's the founder and CEO of Unfolding Space and the Space Healing Method. So this is part of her school of spiritual design. And she teaches aspiring practitioners to tap into their intuitive abilities to create balanced spaces. So of course, listeners, you know, on this show, we talk about all of these modalities that help us in mind, body, and spirit. And specifically, we talk a lot about the intuitive capacities. So I'm loving to hear that Danijela is using that and working with people to tap into that as well. So Miss Danijela, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Kara, for having me.
So what exactly is Feng Shui and space healing for our listeners who may be unaware? And how did you get into this work?
Let me start with the piece. How did I get into this work? So I was 24. I just graduated from University of Applied Sciences in Munich. And I was very clear that I want a job in the marketing field at a big corporation. This was something I was really passionate about for my whole life until this moment, where I call them masters of life. You can call it destiny, divine, however you want to call it, this higher energy, this higher purpose of my life was not to be in the marketing field but in the spiritual world. So that's how I refer to them. They didn't allow me to get a job. Back then I thought, I'm young, I'm married, I have one child. Nobody wants a young woman who is going to get more children in the corporation, right? So I blamed it on this circumstance. But this time off, which I had, I used it to do several different jobs. And I finished up working for a few weeks at a fast food restaurant. And I was really, really at a very low in my life. And I read through a magazine, and they were talking about cleaning and decluttering the space. And then, your life is going to change. And I mean, I was 25. And I was like, what is this? I can't believe, I'm not buying this. Like, how is it going to change my life if I declutter my home? So since things didn't get better, I told my husband, well, let's give it a try. I mean, what can happen? So we did, and things started to shift in our lives. And I got really, really curious about this thing, about space and energy. And this led me to Feng Shui. And, since I laid eyes on it, it created so much fascination in my life. I was instantly so curious. And then I got to know a few Feng Shui consultants. And it was, for me, like meeting them, it was meeting a really, really well-known celebrity. I was looking at them like, wow, you're so brave. Like, you are a Feng Shui consultant. I mean, we are talking 2001, 2002, right? So a long time ago. And this is a fascination I had back then, and I still have. And this leads me to the second part of your question. So what is Feng Shui? And I learned that Feng Shui is a 5,000 years old philosophy of life, where we are taught how to interact with the energy in our space and how to bring the natural flow of energy back into our lives through our spaces. But 20 years later, and a lot of experience, I would say that Feng Shui is truly a philosophy of life where we learn to balance energy, and it's expressed in our space.
I love that. And there's so many different ways to balance energy. People talk about foods and movement and yoga and breath work and meditation and mindset and journaling, but this is really functional for the physical space around you. I'm curious, when you decluttered and you had your life change, when you started working with Feng Shui, what then did it get it a little bit more detail oriented for working with your own personal life, and we're talking about manifesting your future self? Like,
Mhm.
how did that work for your own journey?
So what I realized is when we declutter space, we set energy free. And that's the only thing we do. We don't give a purpose to this energy. So, and if we don't give a purpose to it, it will do something. It will fly or flow somewhere. And this is where feng shui comes in, and the future selfing. The future selfing with feng shui is how to, like, if you think about where do you want to be in a week, in a year, in 5 years, whatever the time frame is, how do you want to feel? How do you want to be with what, like, how do you want your space to feel? And if you dive into this, you will see, like, I have this really simple example in my life. I love luxurious things, just beautiful. It doesn't have to be huge, but just this little beautiful things. And when I go to a restaurant and they have these crystal glasses, I'm like, oh, they're like so beautiful and heavy, and you have something in your hand. And I had this IKEA glasses at home. I have 4 children, so it's busy. So it needs to be practical, right? And then I was like, no, I want crystal glasses. And I know my mom, she's like, you have 4 children. Are you sure? Yes, I am. So I got the glasses because every time when I take a glass, it connects me to this energy. This is a little example about future selfing, because I don't have to think about, oh, how do I want to feel. I drink water, I have my crystal glass, and it connects me to my vision. And I kind of love this approach, and I this is how it came to me. I wasn't thinking about approach. It was just like, oh, let's connect this, like, personal future selfing and bring it into our space and let our space work for us.
I love that. I'm a fan of color, and I love crystal as well. I love rainbows, and I love, just like you can see behind me if you guys are watching the recording, I have like sheepskin rugs, like texture is really big for me. So
Mhm,
I love that you were like calling upon that future self with just the little things. I
mhm,
think that's so practical. So I'm curious, like, you kind of saw your journey change, your life change when you started decluttering, you started moving into doing feng shui work. What really continues to drive you, your passion for being in this work with healing spaces? Tell us a little bit more about that and working with other people and how it's really changed their lives.
mhm. When a client calls you up, and I mean, I have huge changes, experiences of my clients, which are like, I know, I just today I talked to a long term client, and when she came to me, she's like, we want to have another child, and they couldn't, they had some difficulties. And she's like, oh, we have this new house, and I feel something is opening up. And the feng shui I do, or how I work with my clients, it's not just about looking what's the right color or how to place things. We really go into the psychology of, and into the needs and wishes and visions of the clients, and then we bring this into the space. So it's really a beautiful container, where life can unfold. And she had this vision, and we looked into the house, into the feng shui of the house. And I mean, today her son is 3 years old, which is so amazing. So it's not about like me being a medical intuitive or something. It's just about aligning the energies of the space with the visions of the people who live there. And when something like this happens, I mean, there is no money in this world who can like make me more fulfilled, or like, I don't know if the word satisfied is the right one, but satisfied when I see my clients like smiling and being happy, and I know that feng shui has helped them, and I had the possibility to guide them through this process. I mean, I'm so grateful for this work.
It's so wonderful when you do work that doesn't really feel like it's work. And like you said, it doesn't really matter how much you're getting paid. You're just you're living your joy. And so I completely
Yeah.
relate to that. And I'm a medical intuitive, so energy is really important. And having the awareness, like when I go into spaces, I definitely feel where there's stagnancy and things like that. So I'm curious for you, when you started your Feng Shui training, did you consider yourself someone that was sensitive and aware of energy and flow? And did that build over time?
This is such a great question. When I started this journey, I felt the power of feng shui, but I perceived it through my mind. It was just like, I studied economics and marketing. It was very like, mind, like just working through stuff. So I went into the certification, and I remember we were sitting in this space and some people were going like, oh, there is an energy going on. Oh, can you see this in this corner? And can you this? And the people were holding the pendulum and it was doing this weird things. I was like, what is happening? Like, I don't see anything. I am I lost here? And so and it really built up over time. So I couldn't even tell you there was something there was a situation where it's like, oh, now it dropped in. It just kind of happened. And now I'm really my genius is really reading energy and then helping people to transform it. And I use feng shui as a tool and space healing as a tool to do that. But I couldn't say, oh, when I was a child, I already had, no.
So so for this is for the listeners too, just a little sidetrack. What Danielle is saying, I think is really interesting because our intuition develops as we grow. And I love that you were sharing that you were very much working with numbers. You were very focused, very mental. And a lot of people who do start to open up their intuition when they're mental, as far as their baseline, they start to see things in their mind first before they might start actually palpating, like feeling it in their body. And it does like evolve and grow. So I kind of just say that just for people to know that your intuition isn't set. And Danielle is experiencing that, and she's sharing that it's grown and evolved for her.
Yeah, and I think it's so good. I mean, now in retrospect, it's for me, it's easy to say, oh, trust in this little nuggets your masters of life or your higher self is giving you. Like, okay, declutter your home, and I just follow this little nuggets without knowing what's going to evolve and what's going to happen. I just walk the path, and beautiful things have unfolded.
That's the beauty of surrender and trust. And we can't say it enough when we talk about on the show how much intuition is such a driving force for really finding your joy, your happiness. And it really sounds like you found your joy and your happiness when we're doing work that we don't, it doesn't matter. We're just doing it and we
Right.
love it. So, so what were some of the surprising effects that maybe you've seen or experienced in your client's life over the years working? Like any really interesting surprises that you found?
Oh yeah. Oh, in feng shui we have this one philosophy where we say what you see is what you get. And the most powerful changes is when we open the space of what you see is what you get. So, for example, be it in the bedroom or be it in the office or even the house, right? If you leave your house every day through your garage door, you open up and you see the car in the garage, and you have your front entrance, you open it up and you see the sky, you see people, you see you see nature. So when we do the shift and say, okay, from now on, please leave your home from the front door and be mindful and just connect to the nature, just look out and just experiment a little bit with this what you see is what you get thing, right? And they come like, oh my god, I just had this idea to do this and this, and oh, I couldn't see. For example, just really a tangible example, a few years ago I had a lady who participated in my certification in Germany, and she was working a 9 to 5 job, and her dream was somehow to break out of this routine, but she had no idea how. And so when the people do the certification, they usually first drink their own medicine first. And this is what I recommend. So they implement feng shui in their homes. And I think a few months later, she's like, Daniela, I need to stop the certification right now because I'm going on a world, like she's going to travel the world. I'm like, what? I mean, she said, oh, I was, I turned around the entrance. Like I was more aware of this sentence. What you see is what you get. And it's like the world opened to me and she got the sabbatical and like everything fall into place. So I guess she's traveling. She didn't, she didn't reach back to me to continue the certification. So this is really, really amazing what can happen because, Kara, the people start seeing opportunities again.
Yeah. And you start changing the way you're looking at things. I think your brain starts to put pieces of the puzzle together in a very different way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So, are there common space issues then that you see in people's homes? Like that when you come in, you see this trend or this theme that seems to be common for maybe specific ailments or specific things that they're running into in their lives?
Um, oh, a lot of symbols, like, usually when in our home, we become kind of blind for the things we are surrounding ourselves, especially with pictures, paintings, different symbols. And so when I go into homes, I'm not about, it's not about what style you have, what lifestyle you have, what furniture you have. I remember one lady, she called me and she said, I'm like a hamster. I'm in a hamster wheel. I'm working and working and working, and money is nowhere to be seen, and I'm exhausted, and all these things. So I mean, it sounds so cliche, but I swear, I got into her office, and just opposite of her desk, she had this painting with like a clock, and there was a hamster wheel behind the clock, and a little hamster was running between the 6 and the 7. And this is like, I was like, you see the picture, what you see is what you get. You see what you're
Yeah.
looking at every single day. Like, and she's like, oh, I didn't see this.
Yeah.
How could I see this? But we become blind for our own spaces because we see it all the time and we are not mindful. Yeah, so this is something which I run into very often. So very often my job is just to raise awareness and change
Yeah.
the perspective so that my clients can have this aha moment. And then, because when they take down this painting, it has so much more power than when I tell them you need to take it down because it's not good. Feng Shui says it's not a good symbol. They're like, why? I like it. So they need to understand, and that's where you start shifting the energy.
Oh, I love that. So that would be something that you could recommend, what you see is what you get to the listeners if they just
Yeah,
start looking around at what's in their spaces.
yeah, yeah. Just
I'll give an example. So, for those of you who are watching the video recording, I have my books in a specific area of my space. This is where I unwind and kind of sit and read. But I actually have a picture above my desk that I am a business owner and I do a lot of things. I wear many hats and you can get pulled in many different directions sometimes. So staying anchored and focused and not getting scattered had been a thing that I had been experiencing. I don't know if you can see this, but I made this little like vision board. It just says focus and it's very zen. It's very peaceful. It's very centered. And she's right above my desk. And since I put that up, it really has made a difference. I've had it up there for about a year now. So that's like, I love that you're sharing this because I've definitely been trying to implement that too. So I'm gonna take a look around some more and see if there's other things like that are hiding in plain sight.
yeah, yeah.
So, are there any simple fixes you commonly use for specific issues like relationship, health, or money? What are some common things that you are often using for people?
Okay, let's start with the relationship because I feel that's a very, very important topic in our lives. So I always look at the bedroom because the bedroom is the palace of love. In the ancient feng shui, they say a relationship rises and falls in the bedroom. So instead of looking at a corner or putting up some symbol somewhere, let's take a look at the bedroom, and it should have this feeling of unbinding and have the feeling of openness, and especially so when you enter your bedroom, so that you have the feeling that you can really, really be the truest you can be, like without all the personas, without all the roles you have to play in your life, so they can really really connect. And usually, so if we are talking about the space, it's having a different lights, like not like very mm, well, what's the English word, like you use a dimmed light instead of very bright light, right?
Yeah, instead of the
You
fluorescent lighting
Yes, thank
or
you.
the yeah.
Right, right. So you want it to be cozy. We are talking about unwinding. And then the bedroom is also, it has a very, very strong impression on our subconscious mind, because the moment you drift into sleep and the moment you wake up, you're in between the worlds. So, really, again, what you see is what you get. Be really mindful. What is the first thing you see in the morning, and what's the last thing you see in the evening? Because you're going to carry it into your sleep and into your day. And then if you, for example, just had a breakup and you're like, oh my god, what can I do now to get back into my energy? um, I mean, if you can, change the mattress, like buy a new mattress if it's possible. If not, then start rearrange. Sometimes you need to rearrange the bedroom. Sometimes you just really need to move the furniture so that you get another feeling of the space. And then it depends where you are, like in what state you are of your journey. If you want to invite someone new in or not. So just be mindful. And if you want to invite someone new into your life, then just create space for the second person. Just
Yeah.
create a space and invite, and then stay open and do the work, like the rest. I've been married for 25 years, so I'm not a good, like, how to find a new love. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one example.
That's a great one. That's a really great one. So, if someone is looking to bring in a new relationship, if they have anything that helps them feel maybe authentically themselves too, because they want to attract a relationship that is a match for them. You're
Hmm.
saying like the colors and what they have involved in that relationship, things in pairs. Is that
Yes,
also? Yeah.
things in pairs, two nightstands, left and right side of the bed. Then also that the bed has the size you need for two people. I had there. It was so interesting. In my career, I had this situation, two situations, especially around the relationship piece. One lady, she had her dog sleeping next to her in her bed, and she really, really wanted a new relationship. I was like, well, I guess the dog really needs to go because we need to create space for
Yeah.
this new person. I mean, the dog cannot lie in between, right? So it's the subconscious mind in like expressing itself in the space. And another lady, she also wanted to invite somebody into her life, someone new. And I told her, just create space for this person. Like if this person would stand in front of your door and say, okay, I could I move in? Would you have enough space to welcome this person?
Yeah.
Or is everything filled with your own stuff?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's a
this
big
is,
one.
yeah. So just be mindful. She's like, oh, I don't want anyone to move in. So there you see, oh, like there's some more internal work which needs to be done. But when you declutter, you also do internal work, although you move stuff around in your space.
That's great. So, what about our health?
Okay, so health, in Feng Shui, the chi flow, the flow of the energy in your space, is all about health. We call it vitality. So if your chi flow, and chi also brings in vitality, it brings abundance, it brings friends, relationships. So this is the life force energy which moves through your space. So again, the first step is always decluttering, because we need to create space for the chi to permeate through the space. And then the second piece is make sure, because the health areas are in the kitchen where we cook, and also in the bedroom again, because we spend a lot of time in the bedroom. And then the kitchen and the stove are very important in feng shui, not like in what direction they face, but the energy how we cook is essential for our vitality, because the water stores energy and information. So if you cook with love, you store the love in the food you're going to eat. So this is just to, as you can see, Kara, I'm not giving you just put a symbol here and do the symbol there. It's more about really bringing feng shui into your everyday life through mindfulness. And then you can achieve so much more, because you are staying in charge of what you want to achieve. So as I said, the chi flow, decluttering, be mindful of your bedroom, and for the chi flow in the bedroom, and then also the kitchen, because the stove is the most important. It's the heart point, and it's the most important energy point in our space. Because if we go back, feng shui is 5,000 years old. Back then, when the fireplace went out, the family wouldn't survive. And this
Yeah.
is the reason why the stove and the fireplace are so important.
It's the hearth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking about, and this might be mixing systems, but I'm thinking about Ayurveda, and I'm thinking about the fire. And I'm also thinking about Chinese medicine too, with like the digestive energy.
Mm-hmm.
So, like the stomach chi and the flow of that. And so, I'm wondering if someone has like poor digestion, maybe they're a really watery person, they have a lot of water element in their personality. What would you then like work with them with and how they could, remedy that in their kitchen? Just an
Mm-hmm.
example.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because Ayurveda, as well as the traditional Chinese medicine, they have 4 pillars. They have body, mind, soul, and space. The Ayurvedic philosophy, they have Vastu, and the Chinese have Feng Shui. So it's really a legitimate question you're asking, because they are always looking at all 4 pillars. So I'm not an expert in watery or fiery person, and I know the Agni, the digestive fire in the Ayurvedic teachings, but in feng shui we always break it down into the chi flow. So if somebody has a poor digestion, I would immediately look into the clutter piece, because energy is not flowing in the space. It's
Yeah.
stuck. It's su energy. It's stuck, and this is what happens in our bodies. If you have poor digestion, energy is stuck. So if you go to acupuncture to work with the energy in your space, releasing blockages, feng shui does this for your home, but not with needles, with other techniques. And there you see how you can like take care of your health on both in both levels.
Yes. And so you'd also be looking inside their refrigerator as well as their pantry?
Yeah, I mean, I would almost declutter like.
Yeah. That's most of the
Yeah,
clutter usually in drawers and all that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then also, think about what do I have here. Again, it brings us to decluttering what's not serving me anymore, or what's not aligned with me anymore. Or if we bring in the future self, okay, if I want to go this path, what am I storing here which is not in alignment with the future self I want to be?
Yeah. Absolutely. So what about money stuff? How about the
Okay.
money?
So, money is abundance, and abundance is expressed in different ways, not only in money. So, in feng shui, we very much talk about the abundance piece, and feng shui means wind and water. So, water is the piece which is bringing the flow. So the first step, again, I have to repeat myself, is the decluttering piece, right? Because even if you want to receive abundance, you need to create space so that the abundance can drop in, right? The second piece is the chi flow. So, for example, if you have this door window lines, it's you enter a home and you just enter and you look straight forward, and if you see the window front and then the backyard, it's like the chi is just rushing through the home. And if chi brings in money and abundance, it means money and abundance is just rushing through your home. And you want to keep the chi in your space. So if you have a situation like this, I would recommend to take a big, it depends how big the windows are or how big your home is. But just like take a quartz crystal, which represents the turtle, or the backing, your back. And then you can put it really in this line. And again, I always say in my teachings, when you put an intention to the remedy, you activate the remedy. So just putting in the rock and saying, oh, that's a rock because I heard it on a podcast, it won't have the same power if you take the rock and you put it in there, you put it on the floor, and you imagine how this rock becomes like the huge mountain in your back. And you're like, this back is here to keep my abundance in my home. Like you really are passionate. You put in the energy, and then you tap it 3 times. This is the like the anchoring and the activation. This is so powerful. I feel energy raising in my hands, like I'm activating right now. So this is so powerful, and it will help. It seems like what a rock is going to help me to keep my money at home. Yes, it will.
Yeah.
Just try it out. And the third thing is if you want, you can place a fountain in your home. The only thing where you shouldn't place it is the south area of your home. That's the only way area where I wouldn't place it. And don't place it straight like in front of you. Like place it rather further in the back of your home than in the front of your home. So just to stay general, because there are a lot of calculations you need to do to really place a fountain in a home. But just for now, if you follow those 2 rules, you will be fine.
So I have a fish tank right inside of my
Mhm,
door. You walk inside, and on the left, I have a fish tank.
mhm,
And let's see, that direction is it's sort of west. So the
mhm,
west direction. I'm just
mhm,
curious with a fish tank with that running water, in that west area, right inside the door, if that would
mhm.
indicate anything.
So, the it's bringing in the energy. So the fish tank is a moving energy, and it's a very strong chi attraction point. So when you open the door, the chi is like a child. It's curious. It flows where it's beautiful. Right? You open the door and you see this fish tank and the fish moving, and the chi goes like, "Oh, this looks really nice. Let's see." So you have the chi in your home, right? And then from there you can create other chi attraction points, beautiful things. So the chi moves through your home. And the West is connected to the metal energy, and water and metal are in harmony with each other. So it's a good place to have the water also.
Cool. Thank you.
You're
Thank you for
welcome.
that.
Sure.
Yeah. So I was thinking about when I was, I said before the show, everyone, that this is something I wanted to do like years and years ago, but I never went down this path. And I remember thinking to myself when I was learning about the different directions, and I was like, I wonder if people who have a lot of red in their kitchen and their stovetop is in the south direction, if they are like, they're all this fire element. I was like, I wonder if they have more fires or like potential for fire hazard. I'm just wondering if you've not, maybe not that specific example, but have you been in any homes where you've recognized there's certain things that tend to happen, or things that you're like, oh, it's you have too much of this particular thing in this area?
Mhm. Well, it's very often the two most important directions and elements is the north, the water element, and south, the fire element. So if there is a fireplace, or as you have just described, the stove, or in the south area, and then you have a lot of red. Of course, the potential, like we don't want to say, okay, there will be a fire one day, but it's a lot of fire energy there. And the same is with north. Like if you have the north area and then you have blue and then you have water, I mean, it could create even mold, because the yin energy is so strong that it stagnates. And the
Yeah.
yang energy, which would be the fire, it's a lot of movement. And sometimes, um, I mean, this is something I learned from my Feng Shui master. I have never experienced it by myself, but he always said when people have a lot of fire in their kitchen, they also tend to be overweight, because
Yeah.
it's a lot of moving energy. And yeah, so.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about our culture in America, and I'm thinking about we do struggle with weight. We struggle with like this fast-paced fire energy, like going too much. And now we hear a lot from people that there's a lot of busyness, like they're too busy and burned out. We hear about
Mhm.
now burnout, and burnout recovery is such a common thing. So I'm curious if you've been in any homes where you've been working with people who are experiencing burnout, and anything that you're seeing as a common thing, because our cultures now has accepted that as the norm, which I don't think
Mhm.
it's healthy. It's definitely
Mhm.
not healthy. But what are the things that you've been seeing that might relate to that burnout and that excess fire that we have in our culture?
Mhm. It's very, very interesting that you ask that. Very often, when I experience this, when I have clients with this with these issues, they have a lot of metal energy, which is very cold, and also, a lot of fire and water energy. So it's in between. Somewhere, it's metal is very yin and passive, but it's very, very cold. And then you have the fire or the water energy, which is a lot of yang energy, a lot of moving. So never really coming into calmness. So what you intuitively would do is like, oh, you need earth, you need to ground yourself. But here is another thought. What about wood element? So the wood element in feng shui is not brown, it's not furniture. The symbol of the wood is a tree which is growing steadily, and it continues growing as long as it's alive. And it has this endless trust to let go of all aliveness and leaves in autumn and stay in peace in the wintertime, knowing that in spring he will blossom with like millions and millions of leaves. So for me, it's bringing more of the wood energy instead of continuously talking about you need to, of course, we need to be grounded. But look, a tree needs to be grounded and really, really connected to the earth to be able to grow tall. So why not take the wood energy in this situation instead only to talk about grounding and the earth energy, which is more, it is very yin and very like it doesn't move a lot. It's very passive. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, what would you say if you went into a home and someone had a lot of books and a lot of television screens in almost every room? They had, like not lots of devices, because some people really like their technology nowadays. So I'm curious what that could implement, because people are really getting sucked into that technology space. And I'm wondering if
Mhm.
you're seeing more of that, over the 20 years, if that's happening more often.
So it's very interesting. It's a lot of young energy. It's a lot of like input from outside, and I usually, it's always a question about the TV in the bedroom. What does Feng Shui say about it? It's like, I don't want to forbid you to say, oh, and to tell you, oh, the TV is not good because I love to explain in the bedroom, we are going into a yin state, into a state of rest and sleep. And the TV is a yang energy. And those two energies cannot be together in the bedroom. So this is the explanation behind it. And then my client can decide, okay, you know, do I try it without the TV or not? So I don't believe that saying TVs or the whole technology piece is not good for you. I just again we're again about balancing the yin and the
Yeah.
yang energy. Uh, Mindfulness, I think, is the most important thing, and even having a place where you don't have any technology is like my bedroom as with no technology. I don't even have like wireless reception in the bedroom because it's just like this 8 9 hours I can survive without input from the outside world, and
Yeah.
it's really important.
For those listeners who would you kind of what Daniela just said there about the no signal in the bedroom, we had an episode we did about electromagnetic frequencies and EMFs and how those can disrupt sleep. And I encourage you guys to go listen to that episode too, because I think that really piggybacks on what we're talking about here. Getting rid of that excess yang energy so we can just really find rest. Yeah. So, what about feng shui for your car or for your garden or any other spaces maybe we haven't thought of?
Oh, this is really interesting. I love like feng shui for your purse, for your car, for like, you have all these things, right? So, and this is where feng shui becomes really playful, right? You can try out things, put in like you can have a red purse if you want to, because red and golden are in feng shui the connection between, red is the fire and gold is the metal. And then fire melts gold, it starts to flow. So that's the reason why this gold and red symbols are symbols for wealth. So having the symbols in your home, in your bedroom, I'm sorry, in your wallet, or even with the car, right? You can, of course, again declutter it, right? And then just, sometimes, I mean, I don't know about men, but I heard from a lot of women, me too, I love to talk to my car. It has a name, and I talk. So, and even the space, every for me, everything has a soul, right? The space has a soul, my car has a soul, it has even a name. So by talking to my car, it's like feng shui for the soul. And I take care of him, not because I have to, but because I want to. And with the purse, it's like, okay, let's have the money like tidied up because I want to have fun. It's the energy, right? You open up and you're like, oh my god, this is my abundance I'm carrying here, and it's so beautiful. So it's more really a state of feeling, than following a set of rules.
Yes. Yes, I'm going to share a story really briefly that I commonly experienced in when I was serving in the serving industry and as a licensed massage therapist when it comes to tipping. And I learned this from one of my teachers years ago. He used to come see me at my restaurant with his students when he was finished teaching his astrology classes. And he had one of his students lay their tip on the table. They pulled it out and it was all jumbled. It wasn't laid out nice and flat in their wallet. It was just stuffed in there, and they pulled it out and then they rolled it in a ball and they put it on the table. And he said, he was a really wonderful, eccentric man. He said, no, excuse me, we're going to take this and look, we're going to lay it out very flat. He's like, let that abundance fly free. And he said, you want to show it and hand it to the person, look at them in the eyes and share that abundance of love with them as you give it. He's like, we don't want to treat money like it's something we have to hide. And when I thought about that going into the industry for massage therapy, it's interesting when people tip sometimes. They come up to you at the end of the session and they come to shake your hand and they have the tip rolled up in a ball or it's squished up in their hand and they give it to you like a secret handshake, like there's some sort of shame or something around this. And I find it really a representation of sometimes how we experience or deal or feel about money. But I love that you're talking about this feng shuiing your purse and how you are handling your money and caring for it and the intention behind it. So,
Yeah, yeah. A friend, she's also in the astrology field, and we talked about this feng shui for the purse. And she's like, "Does your money love to be stored in your purse?" And I'm like, "Oh, I love this question. I didn't think about like you. It's like you asking yourself like, do I enjoy staying in my home? What does it need that I really feel good and nurtured in my home? So how does your money feel being stored in your purse? And it's really nice."
yeah. Yeah, I love that. And if you're a man, you have a beautiful money clip or something, like you're really
Mhm.
honoring it. Yeah, I love that
Yeah.
perspective. So, as an energy sensitive, I'm very tuned to the energy of spaces and also like land, like the imprints of the land and energy flow. So I'm curious if you've experienced specific spaces or maybe land formations, or if you went into a space that had a historical event, like a home that was historic or something like that, have you sensed something with the history of a space or the land as more attuning to energy as a feng shui practitioner? Have you ever experienced those things and have you had to work with those over the years?
Yeah, so this is where space healing comes in. This is, feng shui is about balancing the energies in the here and the now, how the chi is flowing right now. And the space healing is about the past of the land where the house is built on and the imprints.
Yeah.
Because there is a past on our, like, we are not the first humans who live on this surface of the earth, and we have left traces, a lot of them, many of them, and only because we don't see it, the energy is still there. And I talk so often to clients who are like, I have this beautiful home, and people think I'm crazy, but I really don't feel good here. Something's not right, and I don't know why. And this is usually where we turn into, okay, what has happened here in the, I don't know, 100, 200, 1000 years, in the past, that has caused the energy to be not like vitalizing, but draining.
Yes.
And and it's really important to turn into this field, because feng shui cannot help you there, because it doesn't go into the depth of our land and the information stored there.
But still, it's healing spaces, but not, it's outside of the feng shui's perspective then.
Yeah, I mean, when we go into the past of feng shui, they had the Tao geomancy, and they had this connection of both. So feng shui in the Taoistic philosophy, in the life philosophy, is just one piece of many. So we have to, feng shui is not like it's boxed and that's it. It always has its connection to other different things, and it has a connection to the space. It has a connection to the body, as we have discussed in the beginning, and it has also the connection to the geomancy and to the information our land on our earth is carrying.
Well, I appreciate that because that was a perspective I was really curious about. And those of you, if you haven't listened to, I did put out an episode last year about clearing spaces and working with spirits and activity like that, because that does happen. And I'm glad to hear that
Mhm.
you've like had people say like something doesn't feel right, because as a medium we get that, like we get calls like that all the time, and supporting that space. But I was just curious as far as
Mhm.
if they're connected at all. So thank you.
Sure.
So, what are the common myths that you tend to have to educate your clients about around space healing and feng shui?
So about space healing is really to realize that only, again, because there is this beautiful house, or there was a meadow before they built the house, that the energy of the space is perfect, because there are things behind we maybe need to check on. And what feng shui is, uh, you know, it's about not outsourcing the power you have to an item. Just, you want a relationship, so you look for a symbol for whatever relationship symbol is for you, and then you put it in a corner and you're like, okay, that's feng shui. No, it's not. So this is something very often I tell my clients, just let go of all the stuff you put there, and let's really dive deeper into the meaning and everything what we have discussed so far. So this is one of the biggest myths of, okay, I'm going to buy something and it's going to help me to get a new relationship. This item is just a reminder of what you want to bring into your life. It's just a reminder. If you just put it in there somewhere in the corner and you forget about it, it won't have the activation I talked about.
So we run a spiritual bookstore, and we have people that come in all the time that are looking for items, that are looking for candles or crystals or things that are going to help bring love or money. And
Mhm.
I really love that you're sharing this, because what we say to people, a lot of times some people like get really startled when we say this, but we say to them, we look right at them, and we say, just want to let you know that none of these items work. We say that, really? And then they look at like, wait a minute, you're selling crystals. And what do you mean? You don't want me to buy things? And we say, you are the power behind it,
Yeah.
the intention behind it. These are just physical representations of your spiritual mental process.
Mhm.
And I think
Mhm.
that's so important. I love that you're educating that myth as far as the feng shui and space healing for your arena, because that's what we do too. Because I really find it, I find it part of my passion to help people find that
Mhm.
power, that empowerment, that not giving away to something else and then expecting it to work. It really is the
Yeah.
intention. So I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I always say 5,000 years ago, when the Taoist masters started to gather information about feng shui, they didn't have a shop around the corner to buy things and put it on. So there must be something more to the whole thing about activating life with feng shui.
Yeah, it's that intuition that you build with yourself and with your space, and that connection that's really, I'm sure, very powerful,
Mhm.
and really the driving force behind everything. So, how can we use our spaces to create and manifest our future selves? Let me start that question again. How can we use our spaces to create and manifest our future self or life? So give us some more basics. Let's like revisit
Mhm.
that again.
Of course. So, if you want to dive into this future self thing, again, make a decision for right now. Where do you want to be in whatever your time frame is? Let's say a year or two, and then go into the feeling. How do I want to feel when I'm there where I want to be? And then maybe, okay, when I'm feeling this way, with what items am I surrounded? Where am I living? So it might be a completely different vision than your life right now. But from this new vision, just take some pieces which you can implement into your space right now, just like me with my crystal glasses. And then connect this idea to what you see is what you get. So if you have a vision for your future, um, how do you see pieces of the vision in your here and now in your home? And I'm not talking about vision boards.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like your home becoming the vision board.
Yeah.
And it can be really, really small. You don't need a lot of money. You don't need to move. You don't need to build a new house. Just start with this little steps, this baby steps, which seem so like in this moment, they seem so small. Like, huh, is this going to change my life if I buy crystal glasses? Well, it's going to change direction and then take the next step and then the next and then the next. So I really try to keep it very, very simple because I want the listeners to just do this very first step and it's going to help them change the perspective. And then, take the next step and the next, because making it very complicated would be like, oh, this sounds great, but I have no idea where to start. And I really don't want this for the listeners.
I love it. The practicality and the simplicity, small steps are really they make bigger
Yeah,
outcomes over time. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I have two final questions. But before we go into those final questions, I want to just check in and see, is there anything else that you want to share about your work or about how we get a hold of you, how to work with you, about your school?
Oh, thank you for asking. So, yes, we have prepared a link for your listeners there. You can get some free resources and continue the journey. And I'm really excited to start my space activation training. It will be next year in late spring, and it's the very first time I'm going to certify in for people who speak English. Up until now, I'm working in a German speaking market, and since the demand was higher and higher, I was like, okay, let's go and start this journey. So I'm very excited about this training coming up next year.
Wonderful. And so we'll put those links in the show notes for everyone. And then, question I think I'm probably going to get people asking, do you work with people one on one and go into their homes? Do you travel to them? Do you work with people remotely? How does that work if they work with one on one with you?
Mm-hmm. So it depends. I love to go to the properties and really connect to the people, but this is mostly only possible for really big projects.
Yes.
But I work with clients all over the world remotely. We can really like do great feng shui consultations and healings because the technology is so far, and energy does no boundaries. So there is no need to say, oh, you're sitting in Europe and I'm in the US or somewhere around the world and we cannot connect because we can. We can, yeah.
I love to hear that. I have a friend who's had her house feng shui. She worked with a person for the last 10 years and she said it's changed her life. And
Mm-hmm.
he comes out from California. And I was in a space where I was like, I don't know if I can do that. But I love that you have the opportunity for people to do remote. I think that's a big thing. In general, I've had a lot of people ask me, do you know a brand feng shui practitioner around this area? And I said, actually, I do not. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
so happy to hear that you can also work remotely with people who are interested.
Yeah. I wasn't, I was like, no, I can't. And then, the lockdowns came and everything. And honestly, Kara, back then I thought, oh, nobody's going to need feng shui consultations. Like, oh, my business is done. Like, and then while nobody was working, I had so much work to do because people all of a sudden they were at home and they started to experience their home. And they're like, oh my God, we need to do this and this. And this is when I was like, let's say, forced to really do remote consultations. And I saw that the quality of the work and the experiences my clients had was very, very good, like the same as when I'm in person. So, and this is what opened up the space.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. Well, so our final two questions, Danijela, are the same two questions I ask anyone the first time on our podcast. So the first question is, what is your current favorite product, wellness topic, or self-care indulgence at this time for yourself?
Okay, so the self-care is connecting to my feminine side. I am mom to 4 boys, my husband, and we have even a male dog. So I didn't realize it until a few months ago that I'm surrounded with so much masculine energy that it is important to self-care my feminine side.
I'm the same. I have 3 male cats and 2 males in my home, my son and my partner. So it's the
Yeah,
same. And I run a
yeah,
business, so it's a lot of that masculine energy.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, so how about the last question now here? This is one of my favorite questions. If you could detox one thing in your life or in the world right now, what would it be?
I mean, I really had to give some thought to this question. Um, and then what continued coming up was I don't know if the word is in English right, it's opinions. Putting people into like, this is this. You say something and you're categorized. And
Yes.
it takes away so much curiosity and so much potential. So if just everybody could say, oh, that's interesting, it would be so great instead of judging and, having opinions about something.
Yes. So that's that stigma might be the word, like a stigma
Hmm.
of what that person is. They have a caricature of what they believe or judge someone to be based on, some things, that judgment. So
Yeah.
yes, I am as well, like all for embracing curiosity and opening that up, because when we have curiosity in our lives, we open up to more love, we open up to more connection. And that's really, truly what we need in this world. So I love that choice.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Miss Danijela, for coming on the show. I'm really excited to have this out there and get it published so we can have the listeners hear it. And again, if you guys are interested in connecting with Danijela and her work, we'll have all of her information in the show notes for you. But thank you guys so much again for listening, and be well until next time, my friends. Thank you for listening to the Mind Body Detox podcast. We wish you wellness and health in your mind, body, and spirit. And be well until next time, my friends.